Hello, my friend, and welcome back to Sleepy Tales by John, a place where each evening we gently close the door on the hurried rhythms of the day and step into the tender stories of the universe. Tonight, I'd love to invite you on a little journey into the world of weather, a tiny universe just above our heads, where the sky never truly stands still, and where every breeze and every wandering cloud carries a whisper of its own quiet story. The sky you see every day may look familiar, but with just a small tilt of the imagination, you'll notice that it is actually a vast ocean. Breathing, layers of air move like waves, clouds drift and shift as if they're dancing to an invisible melody. Sunlight melts into soft palettes of color, touching the air with warm, unhurried strokes. And somewhere in that open sky, lightning tears across the darkness like a brushstroke of fire, sudden, fierce, and alive. Every storm, every gust of wind, every falling raindrop is a breath of the earth, a heartbeat we often forget to listen to. If you enjoy these gentle, soothing scientific wanderings, you're always welcome to leave a like, subscribe, or share a little weather fact that makes you smile. These small things help others find this peaceful corner of the world. But right now, you don't have to do anything at all. Just soften your shoulders, take a light breath, and let your imagination lead the way. Now, shall we begin? And once your mind has eased itself into this quiet journey, you'll start to notice that the weather around us is far more than what we simply see. It is like a thick book we've only ever skimmed the cover of. The sky has been there every day, quietly opening and closing above us. Yet the things happening inside it are delicate, subtle, and full of gentle secrets. So before we wander into storms or swirling cyclones, let's start with what feels familiar. Clouds, thunder, lightning, and rain. The smallest, simplest things in the world of weather, and yet the most magical. For sometimes, it is the simplest things that hide truths capable of softening the heart and awakening a little wonder. If you lift your gaze to the sky right now, you might see soft clouds drifting slowly, like small white boats on a wide blue sea. We often think of them as light, feathery, airy, like a quiet breath. But the truth may surprise many people. A single cloud can weigh hundreds of tons, even thousands. Each cloud looks like a floating dream, but inside it are countless tiny droplets, so minuscule that they can hang in the air without falling, like particles of light suspended between earth and sky. The cloud isn't light. Its droplets are simply too small for us to sense their weight. And thanks to that delicate balance, the sky always keeps its softness, the softness we love so much. When these clouds gather enough energy, something extraordinary begins. Not a storm, not rain, but light. A sudden streak slicing across the sky like the first emotional stroke of a passionate artist. That is lightning. Many people don't know that lightning is 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. It isn't just bright. It is pure, compressed fire, lasting only for a tiny moment. When lightning flashes, it boils the air around it instantly, forcing the air to expand so rapidly that it cannot adjust in time. It explodes, and that explosion is what we call thunder. So thunder is not created directly by lightning. It is created by air that bursts apart under extreme heat, a soft explosion, but powerful enough to shake the sky. And then, after that fierce stroke of light, the rain arrives. Rain marks the end of tension, but also the beginning of healing. Many people think raindrops have the same teardrop shape we draw in pictures, pointed at the top, round at the bottom. But the truth is completely different. Small raindrops fall as perfect little spheres, like tiny beads of glass. As they grow, The bottom flattens into a shape that looks a bit like a tiny hamburger bun, and the larger they get, the more the wind pushes against their base until they break apart into smaller drops. Knowing this helps us realize even a single raindrop has a life of its own. Born in cold clouds, shaped by the winds, then falling to the ground in a brief but ever-changing journey. But the thing people remember most about rain isn't the shape of the drops. It's the smell, the scent of the earth after rain. A fragrance that softens the heart, opens old memories, and brings an unexplainable sense of peace. That scent comes from 3 sources. Petrichor, the earthy fragrance released when rain touches plant oils trapped in the soil. Usmin, the scent produced by soil bacteria, reminiscent of beetroots, damp earth, and childhood. Ozone, the cool, slightly metallic aroma formed when lightning splits air molecules. When these 3 scents blend together, we receive the perfume of rain, a fragrance that carries people back to their most peaceful, simplest days. That is why rain always has a way of softening the soul. People often say weather is merely the state of the sky, but truly it is also the state of the human heart. In heavy clouds, we learn that gentleness on the outside can hide incredible strength within. In lightning hotter than the sun, we remember that things which seem dangerous may exist to restore balance. And in the rumble of thunder, we see the truth that anything suppressed for too long will eventually burst, simply to find peace again. And then the rain falls, falling to cool the tiredness, falling to soothe the earth, falling to give the world one long, quiet exhale. Within the sound of rain, whether it's a heavy storm or a soft passing shower, there is always a message that everything is moving, changing, and gently finding its own balance. Perhaps that is why weather has the power to lull us to sleep. Not because we understand it fully, but because in the drifting of clouds, in the flash of lightning, in the echo of thunder, and in the scent of rain, we find ourselves fragile yet extraordinary, small yet filled with energy, soft yet capable of endless healing. And after letting your soul drift slowly through those gentle clouds, those fiery sparks of lightning, and the sweet perfume of rain, you'll see that weather is not just movement. It is the shifting emotions and subtle moods of the earth itself. Just like a living body, the planet has moments of warm and cold, tension and softness, dampness and dryness, all merging into a never-ending symphony. If rain is a long relieved sigh, then snow is the slow heartbeat of winter, a white, quiet heartbeat, so soft that if you simply stand still for a few seconds, you can almost hear the silence of the sky falling gently around you. Snow isn't loud, it doesn't roar like lightning or echo like thunder. Snow simply falls. That's all. And yet, this simplicity makes it one of nature's most enchanting creations. Each snowflake, beginning its journey from the cold high clouds, carries a story of its own shape, its own path, almost as if each one holds a tiny soul. What's fascinating is that snowflakes fall at different speeds. The small, light ones, thin as feathers, fall so slowly that they seem to float, unhurried, drifting in circles, spinning softly, even dancing like tiny dancers in the cold winter air. Meanwhile, larger snowflakes, sometimes fused into delicate clusters, fall faster, heavier, landing with a clearer presence on your hand. Some places in the world have recorded snowflakes as wide as dinner plates, light as cotton, yet so large you can hardly believe your eyes. These flakes look like perfectly cut pieces of white paper, released from the hands of an invisible artist somewhere high above. But the most mysterious part of snow lies in its structure. People often say no two snowflakes are exactly alike, and that is almost entirely true. Each one is a unique work of art, shaped by temperature, humidity, and the winds during its descent. They aren't just beautiful, they are proof of nature's quiet craftsmanship. Imagine this. In the coldest winter nights, the sky is creating billions of tiny masterpieces, releasing them silently, without sound, without pride, without needing anyone to witness them. On snowy nights, if you stand beneath a warm yellow streetlight, you'll see snow reflecting the glow like countless tiny mirrors. The whole world becomes luminous, as though you've stepped into a storybook. But snow isn't always gentle like a painting. Sometimes it becomes wilder, stronger. That is when the snowstorm arrives. A blizzard doesn't roar the way a summer thunderstorm does, yet its silence carries a kind of shiver all on its own. Winds swirl the snow into circling spirals, whipping it against the ground, hiding everything from sight in just a few seconds. Your vision narrows until all you can see is white. Endless white, soft white, a white so complete that you can no longer tell where the sky ends and the earth begins. In that moment, it feels as though the world has vanished, leaving only a quiet, motionless emptiness. And strangely, there is a beauty inside that disappearance. A beauty of separation, of absolute stillness. A blizzard can be dangerous, of course, but it can also be heartbreakingly beautiful when you watch it from the safety of a warm room. Through the window, you'll see the snow swept away like shimmering silver threads. You'll hear the distant howl of the wind, woven into the crack of frozen branches. But inside, warmth spreads across your skin, and a soft golden light becomes a gentle wall, protecting you from the coldness of the whole world outside. Moments like that make people thoughtful, quieter, more aware of their own smallness, and strangely, their own completeness. Some say that snow slows time, muffling the sharp noises of life beneath a thick winter blanket, softening everything, even if only for a fleeting moment. But among all the beauty snow brings, the most magical thing of all is that first sensation when a snowflake lands on your skin. Cold, and yet soft. A cold softness that feels almost like someone placing a fleeting kiss onto your palm. It melts instantly, sinking into your skin, leaving behind a feeling you can't quite name. That is the moment you realize that weather isn't just something happening around you. It is something happening within you. Snow falls to the ground, yes, but it also falls into memory, into stories, into the tiny corners of your heart, the ones you'll smile at someday, softly and quietly, for no clear reason, except that they feel warm inside. Like rain, snow has its own voice, a language softer than a whisper. Walk through deep snow and you'll hear that faint crook, crook under your feet, notes played by the earth itself each time you touch it. It's the sound of a world where the cold has sharpened every movement into something delicate, brittle, and more noticeable than ever. Neville Shute once said that winter is wonderful because it makes everything simple and pure, and snow is what gives winter a beauty no other season can touch. After listening to the white stillness of snow, you begin to understand something clearly. Weather always has two faces. It can be soft as feathers, but also sharp, strong, and full of surprises. Snow whispers. Yet from the same icy clouds, in rare moments of disguised choosing, nature can create something entirely different. Something strong enough to tap against the windows, shake the rooftops, and remind us that this world is always moving in ways we cannot predict. And that is when we step into the next story. The story of hail, one of the strangest and most striking wonders the sky can create. If snow falls like feathers, then hail falls like tiny crystals being released from a mysterious machine hidden in the clouds. Hail doesn't form in stillness. It is born inside enormous storms, where columns of rising air are powerful enough to lift droplets upward again and again, as if nature were playing a quiet but relentless game. Imagine this. Inside a thundercloud, air is rising and falling in massive spirals. Raindrops do not fall the way they normally do. Instead, they are pushed upward, back into colder regions, where temperatures are low enough to freeze water in the blink of an eye. Then, when they become heavier, they fall again, only to be lifted once more before touching the ground. And so, a single droplet experiences many lifetimes. Lifted up, drop down, lifted up, drop down, countless times. Each time, it gathers a new layer of ice around itself, like the layers of an onion. That is why, when you cut a hailstone in half, you'll see rings of cloudy white and clear ice stacked together, like the sky's own record of every journey it endured. No two hailstones are identical, but each one carries a long story, written by storms, turbulence, and the countless rise and falls it survived. When hailstones are small, they fall to the ground like light beads of glass. But when their journey is longer, when the winds are stronger, when the updrafts lift them higher, the hailstones grow and grow and grow until they become something almost unbelievable. Did you know that the largest hailstone ever recorded weighed nearly 1 kilogram and measured more than 20 centimeters across? It was so large that when it fell, it left huge dents in the ground, as if someone had thrown down icy spheres from the sky. But don't think of hail as only cold intensity. Within it lies a beauty of natural geometry. If you pick up a tiny hailstone and hold it under the light, you'll see something resembling a miniature icy planet. Smooth curves, layered shells, and faint lines of light circling its clear, crystalline body. It is a jewel of the sky, shaped by force, perfected by persistence. Strangely enough, hail can only appear under rare conditions. When a storm is strong enough, when upward winds are fast enough, when temperatures are cold enough, and when moisture is abundant enough. Remove one ingredient, and hail will not form. So every hailstone that reaches the ground is a sign of perfect balance, the convergence of forces that rarely meet. Many people fear hail because it can dent rooftops, scratch cars, break windows, and yes, its strength is not to be underestimated. But if you sit indoors, listening to those tiny ice stones tapping on the roof like little drums, you will notice a rhythm hidden inside the chaos. A beat, a pulse, a little song of the sky, a song without melody but full of steady tempo, reminding you that there is a vast world beyond these walls. Another curious thing about hail is its sense of cleanness. When those icy beads fall and melt, they bring coolness with them, refreshing the air and making the world feel like it has just been rinsed. For a brief moment after a hailstorm, the sky looks clearer, sharper, and the cool breeze feels like a chilled cloth laid gently on your forehead after a long, tiring day. But the thing I want you to remember most is its journey. A journey that teaches us something beautiful, that some things must go through many rounds of trial, many collisions, many falls and lifts before they finally reach their true shape. Hail, in its own way, is a story of becoming, not shaped with the softness of snow, but with steadfast cycles, persistence, and endless returns. Maybe that's why, when we look at a hailstone, we don't just see ice. We see time. We see the strength of storms. We see the countless rises and falls of something so small. And we see how nature works not through haste but through cycles. Repetitions, much like human life. When hail melts slowly in your palm, when the last bit of cold retreats from your skin, you'll begin to understand a quiet truth about weather. That alongside gentle, tender wonders like snow or rain, there is always another side, a side full of energy, power, and breathtaking force. Nature is like an artist with many moods, sometimes painting with soft, pale colors, sometimes sweeping, bold, vibrant strokes across the canvas of the sky. After small stories like raindrops and frozen beads, we now arrive at the place where the sky reveals its greatest strength. And that is when we enter the story of tornadoes and fierce storms, the most dramatic movement in the great atmospheric symphony. A tornado is not something you see easily. It is born out of the atmosphere's own chaos, from spinning pillars of air, rotating so fast that time around them seems to hold still. If snow falls like silk and hail is formed through cold persistence, then a tornado is the symbol of the air's ultimate power. Imagine a giant column of wind, spinning fiercely enough to lift soil, houses, even cars into the air. But the strangest thing about tornadoes isn't their destruction. It's the tiny miracles they can create. People have witnessed straws piercing through solid wood, as if they were arrows fired by a supernatural bow. This happens not because straw is strong, but because the wind is powerful enough to turn anything into a projectile. Air compresses, accelerates matter beyond imagination, and sends it slicing through things hundreds of times harder. And the wind speed can reach astonishing levels. Tornadoes can rotate with winds equal to the speed of a jet aircraft. It sounds unbelievable, but some tornadoes have recorded winds of more than 480 km/h strong enough to bend steel, lift chunks of earth, and toss them away like scraps of paper. But if a tornado is a drill spinning into the ground, then tropical storms, or massive hurricanes, are wheels of energy rolling across the ocean. Slower, larger, more expansive, yet unleashing more power than anything humans could ever create. Scientists have calculated that a strong tropical cyclone can release more energy than all the power plants on Earth combined in the same instant. Imagine that. A column of air, hundreds of kilometers wide, spinning steadily, drawing in seawater, vapor, and heat, carrying the strength to shake the ocean itself. A storm is not just wind. A storm is heat turned into motion, a perfect natural engine running endlessly, without fuel, without wires, without human hands. But inside all that fury, inside the roaring waves, the screaming wind, and the darkened heavens, appears a quiet paradox. Something so beautiful, it almost feels unreal. The eye of the storm. The eye is the center of chaos, and the strangest thing is this: inside it, there is complete silence. When you stand inside the eye of a storm, the sky above opens into a deep blue circle. No wind, no rain, no screaming air. Only a stillness so intense it feels almost frightening, and yet so beautiful it can steal your breath away. All the fury of the storm lives in the walls surrounding you, where the winds spin the fastest, but inside, it is as if time has stopped. Someone once said, "In the midst of the greatest chaos, there is always a place of perfect stillness." And that is the eye of the storm, the most profound lesson nature offers to us. Looking at a storm, you can see a simple truth. Nature can be fierce enough to humble us, yet it always seeks balance. It can roar and rage, but it can also open a quiet pocket of calm right at the heart of the chaos. Standing before a storm, we begin to understand that strength is not always loud. Sometimes, strength is persistence. Sometimes, it is the ability to create silence in the middle of noise. Sometimes, it is the act of standing in the center of every whirlwind, yet still keeping a small, quiet space safe inside your own heart. Tornadoes and hurricanes are the largest expressions of that wisdom, wild and immense. Yet they are also teachers of balance, of the cost of energy, and of the truth that in every storm of life, there is always an eye where you can rest. You only need to find it. That still place. even when the world feels most chaotic. After stepping through the fierce world of cyclones and roaring winds, when the last howls fade into the distance and silence begins to settle again, you start to feel something clearly. Weather is not just a series of passing storms. It is the breath of the planet. Sometimes strong, sometimes gentle, sometimes hot, sometimes cold. And every change carries stories thousands of years long, shaping nature, people, and even whole civilizations. If tornadoes and tempests are the extreme moments that flash by in an instant, then what we're about to touch next are the extreme regions of the Earth, places where weather is not just a passing mood, but the destiny of a land, a people, and a way of life. This is when we begin our journey through monsoon winds, deserts, lands of endless rain, and regions so deeply frozen that even light seems to move more slowly. The monsoon is something very special. It isn't just wind. It is the rhythmic movement of hot and cold air between sea and land. And the miracle is that these flows of air are powerful enough to shape entire civilizations. Imagine thousands of years ago, ancient sailing ships following the monsoon winds across the seas, carrying spices, cultures, languages, and beliefs between Asia and Africa. If the monsoon arrived late, people waited. If its direction changed, the trade routes changed with it. Many harbor cities grew rich simply because the wind blew the right way. There are places where life turns according to the monsoon, like the turning of the earth itself. The rainy season brings green fields and full rivers. The dry season brings clear, open skies. Monsoon winds don't only carry water, they carry life. But on the other side of the world, there are places that have almost never known what a real rainstorm feels like. The Atacama Desert in South America is one of the driest places on Earth. Some weather stations there have gone over 40 years without recording a single drop of rain. The sky is so high and clear that the Milky Way stretches above, like a delicate scarf of light. The ground beneath your feet is dry, cracked, and silent, like the surface of the moon. In that stillness, Atacama feels like a place where time has stopped. No roaring winds, no sound of rain, no sign of hurry, only rock, sand, and light. A light so bright it makes you feel as though you're standing somewhere beyond the earth. And yet, in complete contrast to Atacama, there is another place, Mawsun Ram in India, where rain falls so often it seems as if the earth is pouring oceans down from the sky. Mawsun Ram is the wettest place on Earth, receiving more than 11,000 millimeters of rain every year. There, rain doesn't just fall. Rain breathes. Rain soaks. Rain wraps itself around everything like a vast damp blanket. The trees are so lush they almost turn dark emerald. Rivers and streams swell and overflow. Every rooftop hears the rain, like the steady heartbeat of the land. Even the bridges are grown rather than built, woven from living tree roots so they can survive for generations, strong enough to withstand the endless rainfall that wood or steel could never bear. Weather creates extremes, and those extremes, in turn, create entire ways of living. Then, when we look toward the western United States, we meet another extreme, Death Valley, a name that already feels hot just to say. And, true to its name, this place holds the record for the highest air temperature ever measured on Earth, 56.7 degrees. The heat in Death Valley is not just heat. It's as if you are standing inside a giant oven. The rocks are hot. The sand is hot, the air itself is so burning that even sound seems to shimmer in the thin waves of heat. And yet, strangely, Death Valley still has flowers. Tiny blossoms that bloom only once every few years, but when they do, they blanket the desert in bright yellow. Once again, we see that even the harshest places still have moments of softness, all their own. And finally, There is a place so cold it feels as though time itself has frozen, Vostok Station in Antarctica, where the lowest temperature ever measured on Earth was recorded, 89.2 DGC. In Vostok, cold is not just a feeling, it is a presence. It has weight. It has a kind of quiet authority. It slips into every fold of clothing, every breath, slowing every movement, making everything heavy, solemn, deliberate. The sky there is a blue unlike any other, a deep, secretive blue, as if holding the hidden heart of the planet. The ground is an endless expanse of white, not soft snow, but ice, thousands of meters thick. A stillness so complete, you can hear your own heartbeat. These extremes, hottest, coldest, wettest, driest, are nature's boldest brushstrokes, painting the extraordinary diversity of our world. From howling storms to gentle monsoon breezes, from parched deserts to lands drowning in rain, from blistering heat to bone-deep cold, all of it is part of the long story Earth is telling, every day, every hour, with every breath. And the most beautiful thing is this: no matter how harsh these extremes may seem, they are part of what makes Earth so rich, colorful, and alive. A vast painting we simply call home. When we step away from the extremes of the planet where climate draws its sharpest lines of heat and cold, we begin to realize that weather doesn't show its power only through records and extremes. Sometimes, the most mysterious, most beautiful things come from what is soft, light, and quiet. Weather can roar with storms, but it can also whisper with particles of moisture smaller than a single tear. And hidden inside those fragile, seeming things are secrets we cannot always see with our eyes, but can often feel with our hearts. So, after walking through bone-dry deserts, endless rains, searing heat, and cold that freezes time, we gently step into another realm, the world of subtle yet deeply mysterious phenomena, where every tiny breath of air can become a small miracle. There are mornings when you wake up and it looks as though the world has been swallowed by a thick white curtain. Not cloud, not rain. That is fog. Water droplets so small they hang in the air right in front of your eyes, yet are almost impossible to touch. Fog can be so dense that even the shortest road feels like a long journey. Footsteps grow softer, sounds around you are muffled and blurred. Every movement seems wrapped in a velvet hush. On some mornings, fog makes a whole town look as if it's still asleep inside a dream. Trees appear, then fade away. Streetlights shrink into faint golden circles, like candle flames flickering in the distance. The world becomes so hazy that you feel as though you're walking inside your own memory. But fog isn't always just dreamy and poetic. In many places on Earth, especially in dry regions, fog is life itself. Along the coastal edges of the Namib Desert, where the land is so dry that rain almost never reaches the ground, plants and animals have learned to drink fog to survive. Spiders spin webs to catch the droplets. Beetles climb onto dunes and lift their bodies to catch every tiny bead of moisture. Plants swell with water drawn from the morning mist. That world that seems dead is actually sustained by droplets so small they are almost invisible. Sometimes, life doesn't need heavy rain. It only needs a little mist, soft as a breath. When the temperature drops even lower, the water in the air no longer floats but freezes directly onto branches, creating what we call frost. Unlike snow or solid ice, frost forms a thin, delicate layer of crystals, clinging to everything it touches. Leaves, rooftops, power lines. And when a whole forest is covered in it, explorers sometimes call it a frost forest. Imagine standing in a woodland where every leaf and every twig is coated in tiny icy spines, sparkling under the first light of dawn like thousands upon thousands of miniature diamonds. When the wind stirs, they tremble, making a sound so faint and fragile, it resembles the chime of distant crystal bells. This isn't the beauty of falling snow, but of water vapor turning to ice, a form of natural art that appears only in the coldest, most silent moments of the year. Among these gentle phenomena, there is one that surprises people the most: freezing rain. Unlike snow or hail, freezing rain falls from the sky as ordinary liquid rain, but the moment it touches a surface colder than 0 degc, it freezes instantly. Within just a few minutes, every tree branch, rooftop, car, and fence is wrapped in a clear glass shell, and suddenly, the world around you becomes a kingdom of crystal. Trees shine like giant chandeliers. Thin branches droop under the heavy weight of the frozen coating. The ground glitters as if covered in crushed diamonds. If you walk through such a forest, you'll hear a very special sound: the delicate crackling of ice as branches bend under their shimmering armor. It isn't loud, but it echoes like winter's whisper. In the first light of morning, everything beneath the ice glows like fine crystal, crafted by an unknown artist. Look closely, and each frozen droplet holds a tiny world of its own, reflecting the sky, the light, and even your own image, twisted but strangely beautiful. What makes these gentle phenomena, fog, frost, freezing rain, so extraordinary is not their noise or their force. They are beautiful because they are humble. They appear, perform their quiet magic, and then vanish, without reason, without show, leaving behind nothing but the feeling that you've just witnessed something fragile, yet undeniably real. Weather, in its own way, is always reminding us about balance. After violent storms come peaceful nights. After scorching heat, cool drops of dew. After harsh extremes, there are moments of tenderness, so soft they hardly seem possible. And it is precisely in those moments, light as a breath, that the human soul brushes against its deepest peace. When the last drops of dew melt from the tips of the grass, when the thin, clear shell of freezing rain begins to soften, you can feel one thing very clearly. Nature always knows how to soothe itself after it has dressed the sky in all its wild and extreme moods. Yet even within that gentleness, there are moments when the air moves in very strange shapes. Spirals, columns of wind, ribbons of swirling water. Seemingly small, yet carrying astonishing power and mystery within them. After the world of fog, frost, and fragile crystal, our journey gently leads us into a new chapter, where strange spirals of air and water appear, like quiet secrets nature only reveals from time to time. When people think of enormous spirals, they usually imagine tornadoes or hurricanes. But in truth, the sky creates many other forms of spinning motion, smaller, stranger, and sometimes so beautiful, they leave us speechless. One of these phenomena is the dust devil, those reddish-brown columns of dust spinning over the ground on hot, dry afternoons. They are not as fierce as true tornadoes, but they are still strong enough to lift sand, dry leaves, and sometimes even light objects into the air. Some dust devils rise as tall as a building, turning slowly yet steadily, like a doorway, into another world. From a distance, they look like thin ribbons of earth-colored silk, held by an invisible hand and twirled in circles. But if you come closer, you'll hear the soft hiss of sand rubbing together, and the wind chattering like children giggling in the sunlight. Dust devils are not truly frightening. They feel more like small games of the atmosphere, born on dry days and disappearing without a trace the moment the wind shifts. But there is another strange phenomenon. The water spout, those spinning columns rising up from the sea. They are funnel-shaped whirlpools that connect the sky to the ocean, like slender glass pillars lit up by the sun. From far away, they look like gentle bridges of water between sea and sky. And the strangest part is, they are almost silent. No roaring, like a storm. No vicious screaming of the wind. only the soft sound of water being lifted from the sea and dissolving back into the air. Small waterspouts may spin for just a few minutes before they vanish as if they were never there. But the larger ones can become a real danger to ships because their swirling force is strong enough to hoist thousands of liters of water into the sky, like a rainstorm turned upside down. However, if there is one phenomenon that is both powerful and sudden enough to leave no time to react, it is the microburst, a column of air that plunges straight down to the ground at incredible speed. If a tornado pulls air upward, then a microburst is wind, slamming downward, as though an invisible hand pressed the atmosphere to the earth and sent it racing out in all directions. Some microbursts are strong enough to break down entire stands of trees in seconds, or to create chaotic pockets of air that make it difficult for airplanes to take off or land safely. Strangely, microbursts leave almost no sign of warning. The sky may be calm, rain may be light, and then, in the blink of an eye, a massive column of wind crashes down, sweeping the ground clean like a sudden hammer blow from nature. The more we watch the sky, the more we realize nature's power doesn't always come from big, obvious things. Sometimes it is just a single downward gust, but its speed and pressure are enough to be remembered in history. Even so, phenomena like dust devils, waterspouts, and microbursts are only small strokes in the great painting of the atmosphere. When nature wants to show the full extent of its energy, it shapes structures so gigantic they stretch beyond imagination. One of these structures is the supercell, a thunderstorm so large it can cover an entire state. A supercell is not just a big storm cloud. It has its own rotating structure, its own updraft column, its own circulating outflow, forming a complete self-sustaining system, almost like a living being. Seen from afar, a supercell looks like a gigantic flying saucer descending toward the ground, its cloud base spinning around a central core, with trailing spiral bands stretching outward, like long arms. In reality, many of the world's strongest tornadoes are born from supercells, because they are where the sky gathers, compresses, and releases immense amounts of energy. Some supercells last for more than 12 hours, crossing multiple states, reshaping landscapes, unleashing hail, spawning tornadoes, and carrying a silent force that only those who have stood beneath such a sky truly understand. In this way, weather is like a sculptor that never sleeps, shaping spirals, columns of wind and spinning water, sometimes as beautiful as a painting, sometimes as loud as thunder, sometimes as soft as mist, yet always bearing within it a deeper story of the air above us. And the most beautiful part is this: no matter how strange or fierce these phenomena may seem, they are all real heartbeats of the earth, rhythms we rarely notice, yet which are always turning above us, day after day, night after night. When we listen closely to the spirals of air and water, we are listening to the heartbeat of the planet itself. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes strong, sometimes gentle, like the heart of a sleeping giant, breathing in silence. After passing through these odd vortices of air and water, from the silk-thin dust devils to the spinning waterspouts, from the arrow-like fall of microbursts to the vast supercells as wide as a state, you begin to sense one clear truth. The world of weather is not driven by wind and water alone. It is also driven by light. Light can be as gentle as the rays of morning sun and as fierce as a bolt of lightning splitting the sky. And when light meets the atmosphere, when electromagnetism meets space, when the sky becomes a stage for invisible interactions, the most magical phenomena appear. If the previous part was the dance of wind and water, then this next part is the symphony of light, more beautiful, more mysterious, and touching something sacred that humans rarely get to witness. Let us step into that world, where the night sky glows in ways you would never expect. There is a place on Earth where lightning does not just flash for a few seconds and disappear. That place is Venezuela, and the phenomenon is called Catatumbo lightning. At the mouth of the Catatumbo River, for hundreds of years, lightning has appeared almost every night, lasting for hours. With some nights seeing up to 280 lightning strikes in just 1 hour. There is no deafening rain, no raging winds, only purple, blue, and silver-white flashes flickering over the night sky like an endless dance of light. Locals call this the natural lighthouse of the world, because sailors once used its glow to navigate from far away. In a world full of darkness, Catatumbo is like the bright, pulsing breath of the earth, a reminder that the sky holds secrets that span generations. If Catatumbo lightning is the light of the earth, then the aurora is the light of the sky. It doesn't come from clouds or storms, but from somewhere far beyond, outer space, where charged particles from the sun race toward Earth at unimaginable speeds. When these charged particles collide with our atmosphere, they bloom into curtains of green, purple, and red, flowing like silk ribbons suspended in the sky. To watch the aurora is to watch a doorway open into something larger, deeper, as if the heavens themselves are breathing light. The Inuit believe the aurora is the spirits of their ancestors playing in the sky. In Scandinavian lore, it is the shining armor and swords of the gods. Scientists, however, call it space weather, because the aurora is more than beautiful. It is a sign that the sun is sending energy into our planet. And sometimes, that energy grows so strong it becomes solar storms. Storms of magnetism. Solar storm is not a storm in the way we usually think. There is no wind, no rain. But it can stir our atmosphere, shift the paths of major storms, disrupt satellites, and even affect power grids across entire countries. Stranger still, large solar storms can cause small changes in climate by altering how Earth absorbs energy, how clouds form, and even influencing wind patterns we see every day. A single beam of light from the sun traveling 150 million kilometers can shape the weather right above your head, a thought that makes us feel very small and yet deeply in awe. And while the sun leaves its signature in auroras and magnetic storms, there are still quiet wonders in the everyday sky, like contrails, the white streaks left behind by airplanes, which many people don't realize can change cloud patterns on Earth. At the look on Borgenzi's face, Erkebesi said, in case, those long white lines are not just trails of vapor. They are paths that help water vapor gather, making clouds more likely to form in areas where jets fly frequently. Without meaning to, humanity has been sketching shapes across the sky, line by line, layer by layer, rewriting the atmosphere each day like a new page in a diary. The beautiful thing is this. Each of these phenomena, Catatumbo lightning, the aurora, solar storms, and airplane contrails, shows us that the sky is a living being. It doesn't just make wind and rain. It reacts, responds, remembers, and moves in ways that feel almost soulful. When you look up at the night sky, you begin to understand that light does not only come from the stars. Light comes from the Earth itself, from its atmosphere, from invisible energies you can only sense when you truly become still. And in that stillness, you realize weather is not just what we see. Weather is what we feel. It is the heartbeat of the planet, echoing through wind, through water, through light, turning every moment in the sky into a line of poetry, in an endless verse. When the last glow of the aurora fades along the horizon, when the purple flashes of Catatumbo lightning finally dim, and the sky returns to a soft, velvet black, you notice something curious. These light phenomena, however stunning and otherworldly, are only the delicate ornaments of the planet. Beneath that thin layer of light, hidden in the ground, in the oceans, in silent flows we cannot always see, lie larger, deeper, longer movements. They are not just weather, They are geological memory, the slow breath of Earth over thousands of years. And if the sky is the heart, then water and land are the spine, the foundation of life we stand on every day. Let us keep walking, slowly now, to feel the most steadfast flows of this planet. If light phenomena make the sky blaze for a few seconds, then floods are what can reshape an entire mountain or region in a single night. Floodwaters do not carry only water. They carry soil, tree trunks, and even rocks, weighing tons, tumbling along like small toys in the grip of a giant. A flash flood can lift a boulder many times heavier than a car, roll it along the torrent, and set it down somewhere entirely different. When the flood recedes, a new landscape is left behind, as if nature has quietly redrawn the map to its own liking. In contrast to the violent rush of floods, there are times when water disappears entirely, leaving behind the silence of drought. Drought doesn't arrive in a single moment. It comes slowly, very slowly, like the soft ticking of sand through an hourglass. Some regions have endured centuries of drought, where the ground cracks like broken pottery, where rivers and lakes survive only in the stories of elders. Trees burn dry. Animals move on. People stare at the sky again and again, and still cannot find a single cloud. In that silence, we finally understand. Water, something we take for granted every day, is in truth the most precious gift this planet offers to life. But water doesn't come only from rain or rivers. There are vast flows, stronger than any river on land, hidden beneath the surface of the sea. These are ocean currents, rivers of heat moving beneath the waves, carrying warmth from the equator northward and sending cold waters from the poles back toward the tropics. These currents are the circulatory system of the oceans, influencing rain, wind, storms, and even the climate of entire continents. Thanks to them, parts of Europe are milder and more stable in temperature. And if one day these currents were to stop, Earth might slip into a new ice age. Everything in nature is connected, not with ropes, but with rhythm. One of the clearest examples of this is El Niño and La Niña. Just a small change in sea surface temperature in the Pacific is enough to shift the rainy season in Asia, the dry season in Africa, hurricane patterns in America, droughts in Australia, and even the monsoon in India. El Niño warms. La Niña cools. Both are breaths of the ocean, and each breath can gently shake the climate of the entire planet. Looking at these movements, we understand that weather doesn't begin only above our heads. It starts in the deep flows of the sea, in the exchange of heat within each meter of water, and in the way wind caresses the surface of the ocean every day. And in the coldest places, water takes on another form: ice. Ice doesn't only rest on lakes. It flows like a river, moving very slowly, carving through mountains, tearing at rock, shaping valleys, gorges, and ancient basins that last for thousands of years. These are glaciers, rivers of frozen water strong enough to erase the footprints of entire mountain ranges. When glaciers break apart, massive chunks drift across the sea like pale blue castles. Some icebergs are as large as a city, carrying ridges, arches, and caves inside that glow like gemstones. And when snow on steep slopes becomes unstable, a single sound, a single step, can trigger an avalanche, a roaring white waterfall of snow, sweeping away forests and everything in its path with the unstoppable pull of gravity. But whether it is floods or drought, glaciers or avalanches, El Niño or La Niña, all of them are the grand signatures of water and earth as they converse across time. Water carries life. Earth remembers every footprint. Ice preserves the depth of the past. Wind carries the breath of the present. Light reveals the secrets of the sky. And together, They weave the long story we call this planet. In the quiet of the night, when you hear the wind at your window, the rain on your roof, or feel the coolness rising from the ground, you are listening to Earth itself, a vast, gentle, sometimes fierce being, whispering to you. And when the last ice blocks melt into the sea, when the roar of floods fades into memory, and the hot, cold breath of El Niño and La Niña blends back into the cycles of the ocean, we slowly realize something simple and strangely beautiful. Every movement of water and land, of wind and light, of thunder and snow, is one long, slow, deep heartbeat of this planet. Nothing appears without a reason. Nothing disappears without leaving a trace. From a single bolt of lightning to the shifting paths of deep ocean currents, everything is like scattered notes in an endless symphony Earth has been playing since the day it was born. And to bring this long journey to a close, we step into the quietest, softest moment, where the entire story of weather gathers into a single breath to lull the soul. If you close your eyes right now and let your mind drift back through everything we've traveled, rain, lightning, snow, storms, mist, ice, light, wind, and the colossal flows of the oceans, you'll naturally realize weather is not just the changing sky. Weather is the heartbeat of the Earth. It is the breath of the planet. When a soft breeze brushes your face, it is the Earth taking a gentle inhale. It is the pulse. When lightning rips across the clouds, it is the planet's heart squeezing with power. It is emotion. When storms rise, when snow falls, when rain softens an entire forest, all of it is the mood of the world we live within. Weather is not something separate from us. We live in it, walk through it, grow up with it. It teaches us the patience of stone, the tenderness of dew, the strength of storms, and the fragility of our own selves. And the most wondrous thing of all is that within every chaos of the sky, there is always a moment of stillness. A small pause, hidden in the light, in the wind, in invisible spirals. Just like the calm eye of the storm, inside every tempest of our lives, there is a place of refuge. A spot where we can set all worries down and simply breathe. So, as you sit here, listening to the very last part of this journey, I want you to know you are also part of that heartbeat. Your breath is in rhythm with the breath of the sky. Your pulse moves with the pulse of the earth. And the peace you're feeling now is a perfect match with the peace of the night. All you need to do is loosen your shoulders, rest your hands wherever they feel most at ease, and let your breath flow out like a small, gentle stream. Let your eyelids close, like two doors leading into a quiet garden. Let your thoughts slow down and dissolve, like morning fog slipping back toward the mountains. And let sleep come to you naturally, without hurry, without force, like falling rain, like a passing breeze, like soft light drifting quietly through the night sky. In this moment, you no longer need to follow the clock. You no longer need to keep pace with the world outside. You don't need to search for anything at all. You only need to rest gently, slowly, peacefully. Let this story drift away like a small boat across a still lake. Let your mind walk into sleep as if walking into a moonlit forest, where every sound is kind and every breath is as soft as the night wind brushing through your hair. And as you sink into sleep, perhaps you'll feel what we have been traveling so far to understand, that this world never truly stands still. It is always breathing, always pulsing, always telling its story. And within all that motion, there is always a place reserved just for your peace. May you sleep deeply, softly, sweetly, as the sky gently wraps the earth in the long arms of the night. Sleep well.